Stranger Things Season 5. Honestly, I'm gonna be real. I think this was literally almost just as bad as Game of Thrones to me. To me personally, I think it was on par with how terrible Game of Thrones was. Okay, let me start from the beginning. All right. There is nothing redeeming about this season in any specific sense of the word. Nobody dies of consequence. Everything's kind of already been said, right? Like, nobody dies of consequence. The Mind Flayer and Vecna. Let me pull it up right now, actually. I'm going to go on Netflix. So, the final battle begins at technically exactly 1 hour. The Mind Flayer opens up and it becomes alive, right? Okay, so exactly 1 hour the Mind Flayer comes alive, and then exactly there's actually no way. It's literally 10 minutes. The final battle of a 5-season series with the main villains is 10 minutes long. Dimension X, the Abyss, whatever, never collides with Earth or the Upside Down, and they defeat Vecna and the Mind Flayer in approximately 10 minutes. From the moment the Mind Flayer wakes up to the moment the Mind Flayer is defeated and Henry is impaled on the tooth is 10 minutes. 10 minutes of a 2-hour final. And then you spend exactly 48 minutes. Let's see, where does L get deleted? So 35 minutes. You spend 35 minutes on an epilogue. 35 minutes of you cram your entire series finale into 2 hours. The previous 7 episodes of this season are nothing. They offer nothing. Nobody dies. And the Duffers have said, oh, well, this isn't Game of Thrones. People have died in horrific ways in this show. Billy got ripped apart in front of his sister by the Mind Flayer. Barb got face fucked by a bunch of slugs and a Demogorgon in the first season. Soldiers were getting brutally murdered all along the way with Demodogs and regular Demogorgons and other, Hopper goes to Russia and is tortured by the Russians. His daughter dies of cancer from Agent Orange. This isn't a kid's show. You can say, oh yeah, it's not Game of Thrones, and oh yeah, this, but you can't go both ways. That's the biggest problem with this. Is it's so much like, oh, we're trying to play to both crowds, and it just completely fucking falls flat. You can't play to both. You've already established yourself as this new coming of age but very dark horror show. And you've already set the boundaries. You have Vecna literally popping and disfiguring people's fucking bodies in front of children. And you're gonna pretend like, oh, everything's fine. What a great setup too. I personally really like season 4. There's a lot of misses, right? There's a lot of Stranger Things besides, I would say, even in the first season there's some misses. And that's kind of a hot take. But there's a lot of moments that drag in Stranger Things, 100%. There's a lot of exposition dumping throughout the entire show. There's a lot of explaining to the characters why we got here and all this shit, but it's never as egregious as season 5 is. Season 5 is the epitome of what Game of Thrones season 8 was, 100%. The more I think about it, now that I've taken about a day, it's 100%. The last 2 episodes of the show completely kill the show. I have no desire to rewatch Stranger Things now, and it's depressing. And don't get me wrong, binging Stranger Things is hard, especially by the time the 3rd season rolls around, because it is more of the same. It's like, okay, here's the villain, they're doing creepy stuff, but then season 4 comes in, so you have season 1 through 3. It's Demogorgon / Mind Flayer shenanigans. Will's got the tism and he's talking to the Mind Flayer. He's got the touch and he's talking to the Mind Flayer, whatever. And then season 4 comes along and it brings it back home. It brings it in. Vecna ensnares the plot with his claw and he brings it towards this big penultimate goal Hawkins has exploded. The world is falling apart. And then all of a sudden, we go nowhere. The military is functionally useless. Guns don't make sense in this show. Wine bottles hurt Demogorgons, but not 50 cal machine guns. The Ma Deuce, the machine gun that won World War II and could cut through armored vehicles, can't cut through a Demogorgon, but a wine bottle can. And then you're going to have a Demogorgon slash open the jugular of one of the main character's moms, and then nothing happens to her, and literally within the next 12 hours, she's walking around and blowing up Demodogs. It's so absurd. And what's even worse is the amount of cope that the fans of this show, and maybe they're newer fans, so they haven't watched the previous seasons when they were coming out, or they're just not used to quality content. Fair enough, but this is just absurd. You defeated the main two villains. One, you retconned them together because you saw the reaction that people had with Vecna being the overarching villain, which even I was like, I feel like that kind of downplays the Mind Flayer a little bit, and Vecna kind of feels like a cop-out, but it's so clear that they had no idea what they were doing. They had nowhere to go. They didn't know what they wanted to do to finish it, and then they showed their hand too early when Vecna blows up Hawkins in end of season 4, and then they're like, oh wait, no, we gotta patchwork this script. This totally wasn't made during a writer's strike. This last season cost $400 million. Let me put that in perspective. Transformers Dark of the Moon cost $195 million when it was released. Adjusted for inflation, that would be about $250 million now. That is damn near half. That's pretty, including marketing, that's probably half the budget of this season. Transformers 3 blew up a city. Michael Bay blew up a legitimate Chicago. Granted, Chicago's getting blown up every other day, but at the same time, he literally blew up a city to film this. This season does absolutely fucking nothing for 8 episodes. How much did Avengers 1 cost? $220 million. So adjusted for inflation, probably about like $300 million. Still, $100 million less. And you have RDJ, Transformers, you had Shia LaBeouf. Like, you have all these high-profile actors. And in Stranger Things, who do you have? Millie Bobby Brown. She was famous from the show. Take a price cut. Like, give me a break. It's just disappointing. This whole thing is just disappointing, and it's just absolutely lame duck limping to the finish line. We're trying to get it over with, just like Game of Thrones. For people that weren't old enough or weren't around or didn't experience the end of Game of Thrones, it's exactly the same as Stranger Things. It is the same vibe. It's the same feeling. It is everything. The writing was off. The writing was off in season 7 of Game of Thrones. And it started to get off a little bit in Stranger Things season 4 too, but the hook and the plot was there. But again, just like season 7 of Game of Thrones setting up pretty well for season 8 of Game of Thrones, same happened here. And immediately, as soon as you turn on the first episode of season 8 of Game of Thrones, just like with Stranger Things, you can tell, you can literally taste the bad writing. You can taste the conveniences. You can taste like the character interjections and the, oh, we gotta hurry this up. That's exactly how it feels. Absolute waste of talent. Stranger Things season 5 ends with no joy. The characters all get happy endings, but the audience doesn't. The audience does not get a happy. When Elle is telling Mike there is no happy ending, yeah, she's talking to us, because the ending that and all of us wanted, the people that aren't convincing themselves that this is cope wanted, just is nowhere to be found. 10 years and probably close to $1 billion spent on a show completely wasted and down the drain. And it happens again, and Hollywood keeps chugging along. I will say this, at least it's over. I hate to say it, but like, just like how I feel about Game of Thrones now, and I've come to accept it, at least it's over. And all because they want to make more spin-offs and all this other garbage like they always do. Oh, we got to make more spin-offs, we got to do this. It's just more baiting for the modern audience to scroll on their phone and fucking look up and, oh, look, giant spider monster getting blown up. That's cool. That's all I have to say. Season 5, absolute letdown. Wasted potential, wasted villains, wasted plot, wasted characters. Hopefully the next one's not so bad. At least my video about Arcane Season 2, you know, I didn't I didn't like Arcane that much. Season 2, I loved Arcane. I didn't like Arcane Season 2 that much, but at least Arcane Season 2 was fucking entertaining. This was just sad. Anyway, I'm done.